In today's video, I'm going to show you how to avoid one of the most common pitfalls in crypto investing that causes new investors to lose money, and that is buying tokens right before they have a major unlock. In this video, I'll show you how to find whether a token has upcoming unlocks and also to view its entire future unlock schedule. Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick, and as a reminder, although I'll talk about a number of different cryptocurrencies in this video, these are examples. As I teach you how to do your own research, you should still look at all the details yourself and make sure you're researching on your own before you actually put any money into anything that I mention in this video. Now, let's get into it. First, to set the stage, in this video we'll be using an app known as Token Unlocks. Token Unlocks makes sense, right? We're tracking the unlocks of tokens, and the website is known as Token Unlocks. And this is where we're going to get pretty much all of our data for. They don't necessarily have every single token, but they're going to have the vast majority of tokens, and they'll have every major token on here. And the website is token.unlocks.app. And if you go to it, you'll see this page that is quite aesthetic, in my opinion, and they just have tons and tons of projects listed on here. And we'll go through in detail how to use this. On the home page here, the first thing that you'll see is the unlocks that are happening nearest in the future. So for example, we can see that there's an unlock for Uni token in 4 hours and 47 minutes. I mean, they even have these things down to the minute here, right? We can see there's an unlock for Pendle in 2 days. There's an unlock for ID in 4 days, and so on and so forth. And just go all the way down, right? So a lot of things I'll do is at the start of every week, I'll actually go on here and I'll look which tokens have upcoming unlocks, just so I can have that knowledge going into the week. If I see anything about the token, I'll already know that they have an unlock. And I also publish a weekly calendar of events that I send out in my newsletter, and I usually post on social media, and it'll include major unlocks in the calendar as well. But you can see here we have some unlocks, and you'll see the current price of the token, that price change, the market cap, circulating supply, and then this next thing here, which is the total percent unlocked. And so this is really important, because if a token has a high percent unlocked, that means that most of the tokens are already in circulation. For Uni, this means that 91.7% of all the tokens that could be in circulation are in circulation. So for example, in this case, there's about 1 billion, there are exactly 1 billion Uni tokens total, and 916 million of those are already in circulation. So vast majority are going to come into circulation. And this basically means that unless all those came into circulation at once, it's unlikely there'd be an unlock big enough to really affect the price very much. Contrast that with some of these other tokens, and I'm not trying to pick on these ones specifically, but let's look at DYDX. Only 25.61% are in circulation. That's about 250 million out of 1 billion DYDX tokens are already in circulation. That means that eventually, most likely, those other 750 million DYDX tokens are going to come onto the market, and depending on when they come on, it could not always necessarily be a good time to buy. In this case, for example, going over here, we can see that they have an upcoming unlock in 8 days and 19 hours. And if you look at this percent here is what percent of the tokens are coming onto the market, and that is 3.72% of the DYDX tokens are coming onto the market in 8 days and 19 hours. And the reason to know this is if you see the price pumping, a day before then probably that's not the best time to buy, right? If the price crashes right before the unlock, that could actually be a good time to buy. But we'll talk about the dynamics of this in a second. A lot of times you'll actually see the price starting to pump before the unlock for reasons that we'll talk about in a minute, like I said. And in that case, you really want to make sure you know that there's an unlock and you can avoid buying in that situation. Now, and so since we're looking at this example already, let's click into DYDX a little more to see some more details. So any of these tokens, you can click into them, and then you can actually see some more details about the unlocks. And so we can see, for example, that this is verified off-chain. That's important. Some of these things are verified on-chain. That means that it's hard-coded. This is verified off-chain, meaning it's from either documents or some other sort of off-chain resource. Other thing that's important to see here is you can see the circulating supply versus the max supply. You can see the total unlock progress. And by the way, you might be wondering, why is the circulating supply not necessarily the same as the unlock supply? There can be supply that's unlocked that's not actually in circulation, right? And that's going to get into the tokenomics of some tokens you can stake it or lock it up, or in other cases, for example, it could be held by the protocol or team treasury, and then there has to be a governance vote to actually spend it. But tokens can actually be unlocked, but not in circulation. But moving forward on this page, you can see, for example, the future 1-year emissions. This is going to be really, really important for long-term holding. So in this case, we can see there are 460 million DYDX being emitted over the next year. That is 262% of the current circulating supply. So in other words, right now, circulating supply is 175 million. That's probably going up a lot. That's going up by about 460 million DYDX over the course of the next year. And depending on how the market is, if the market takes off, that doesn't mean that the price couldn't go up. But what that does mean is that even if the price stayed the same over the next year, the market cap would go up more than 3x. Now think about that for a second, right? Even if the price stayed the same, the market cap would go up another 3x. Well, what if the market cap stayed the same? If market cap stayed the same, the price would, in theory, have to go down by over probably 60, 70%. And so you really want to be aware of that when you're forecasting your projections, because, for example, if you forecast this is going to have a market cap of 500 million due to organic growth in a year, then that doesn't necessarily translate to a price increase if a lot's coming unlocked. And so you really want to make sure you understand what the future inflation rate of this token is. Scrolling down here on the page, you can see the allocations. So investors, investor trading rewards, employees and consultants, some things like that. And you can also see just a timeline of when things are coming unlocked. And so look at this here. Wow, look at this. December. So it looks like December 2nd, or perhaps it's rounding up, but it looks like December 2nd. That's when a ton of DYDX is coming unlocked. And you can see the exact breakdown of who it's coming unlocked from. In this case, it's investors, employees, and future employees. And, something that's important to note about this is a lot of people, sort of say, oh, why do these protocols have an allocation for the team? People don't work for free, right? If you're working for a protocol early, of course, they're going to promise you tokens. A lot of times these startups, when they're first starting, I don't know what DYDX pays, but a lot of times the salaries aren't as good as someone could make somewhere else, but they're doing it because they have tokens that they hope will be worth something someday. So it makes sense they have these team things. But you as a trader, as an investor, as retail, you want to make sure you don't get dumped on, right? You don't want to get used as exit liquidity. And yeah, but in this case, a lot of these tokens are coming unlocked in the future. So you really got to be mindful of that if you're planning on holding this for the long term. And as we continue to scroll down, we can see some description of, in words, when these are coming unlocked and how the vesting works. So we can see, for example, future employees and consultants, 30% on December 1st. So it's December 1st, not December 2nd, December 1st. Then 40% in equal monthly installments on the first day of each month from January 1st, 2024 to June 1st, 2024. Then it slows down a little, 20% in equal monthly installments each month from July 1st, 2024 to June 1st, 2025. And then 10% monthly from July 2025 to June 2026. So kind of leveling out. And then by 2026, all the tokens are already in circulation. And that's basically all the details on this page. And as you can see, this is going to give you a really, really strong idea of who is getting tokens unlocked and when they're getting them unlocked and what the annual inflation rate is. And just to look at one other example here, let's look at OP. That's the Optimism token. And if we look at this, they have a pretty strong emission, right? About $400 million worth over 1 year. But that's actually a much smaller percent of circulating supply. And the thing with this is that these are just numbers, right? They're facts. So 36% of circulating supply is coming onto the market. Depending on how you think the Optimism network and how the Optimism market cap is going to perform, that could either be a little or a lot, right? If you're projecting 10% growth for the network, then that's a lot coming on the market. But if you're projecting 100% growth for the network, you think that the market cap is going to double, then that's actually not very much, right? Because then you would still expect significant price appreciation. And so that's just something you have to take into account with your analysis. And then to my point earlier, what do I mean by people might try to use you as exit liquidity? What do I mean by there could be bullish news? And again, I'm not picking on any one project here. This is just an example. I'm speaking in hypotheticals. But a lot of times before you have a big cliff like this, where you have a ton coming on the market, you'll weirdly start to see bullish news come out as people try to pump the price of the token up. And that news could come in some cases from the team. In some cases, it could come from influencers. In some cases, it could come from influencers paid by the team. And by the way, I don't want this to be misconstrued. I'm not saying that Optimism did this. This is just a hypothetical. But what you'll see sometimes is you'll see suddenly, as the week is approaching and this unlocked, you'll see a lot of threads on Twitter. You'll see videos on YouTube. You'll see hints about upcoming announcements. And basically what this is doing is that people who are having tokens unlocked, what they want is they want exit liquidity, right? They want people who are going to buy their bags that are unlocking. And in order to be able to sell those, they need to create demand. And so to create demand, they create some hype around the token going into the unlock. And I see people fall for this all the time, but now that you know to check for this before buying, hopefully you don't fall for it in the future. And if you want to learn about more tools to help you with your crypto research like this, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter at dynamodefi.substack.com. I publish this every Monday, and I include on-chain metrics, I include trends, but one thing that's really important that I have is I have my tool spotlight every single Monday. And here I'll just talk about a useful tool to use in your research, and I'll describe a bit about how to use it. So if you want to learn about more tools like this, be sure to check that out. And that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. For more like it, be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.